inside the Red Earth Production Studios for another edition of YBMcast. And as you can see, we have our panel of contributors here. Less one. We're hopefully going to get Kevin Mulder on here and talk a little bit with him. But this is our end-of-year extravaganza. And me personally, and this is with all sincerity, to Jennifer, to Matt, to Mitch, to Coach, to Kevin, YBM and what the YBMcast and what we've been able to accomplish is really thanks to these people that you're seeing here. They're great baseball minds, great people, want to be part of the community, want to talk baseball. I remember we're sitting, I did a show with Matt, and Matt goes, hey, why don't we do this on a regular basis? I'm like, I'm all for it. And that's kind of kicked that off. And, to Matt, it's been a real pleasure, man. And I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to much more, really. And Coach, we did one of our first shows way back in the day out at your ball field.
Yep, come a long way.
That was right.
Yeah.
We went out to one of his practices and we'd interviewed him, and that was, geez.
Well, we had him on the show, and it was the most viewed one, so we thought, we'll bring him back.
No, that was. It's true. He still owns the record,
seriously,
doesn't he?
wasn't it?
Yeah.
We had him on because
that's true, and
it was the most viewed one.
Yes, it is still.
That's why you keep the ass back.
That's right.
You're a ratings booster.
Hey, baby, you got to know it, right? That's you know where it's at. And Mitch came along. He called me and says, "You know what, dude? I'm watching this stuff, and I'd never met Mitch before." He goes, "I'm interested in helping and wanting to talk baseball. I love it." And we've kind of connected and clicked, and appreciate that. And then there was Jennifer. And Jennifer, it was funny. I'm gonna say this. I don't mean to embarrass, not try. She's like, why am I here? This is. But you know what? I've always done this. I've always believed this. Baseball moms are great. My wife was a baseball mom. She was great. And it's always, you have to have the moms involved. Right, Jen?
I agree. Yep. If you want things to run smoothly, yes.
And last week we did our panel, and she got 3 other great women. We talked and chatted baseball all week, and it was a lot of fun. So if you haven't saw it, if you haven't watched it, go back and check that out. But Jen's been gracious coming on and being part of Youth Baseball Midwest, and I appreciate it very much. Guys, end of year, right? End of year. What memories, thoughts? Go.
There's a lot of memories. I would say the biggest thing for me is you go back to the conversation that you and I had where we were talking about, hey, we should do a podcast, we should do these things. And at first it was kind of like, okay, let's do it. This will be fun because we can talk about baseball. And then as we got into it, it's bringing light to high school baseball specifically because nobody does that. And then you get somebody like Coach on who gives a completely different perspective and actually, in all honesty, gives credibility to the show in the beginning.
Yes.
As soon as he came on.
That's true.
As he may not realize, though, he has a lot of clout in the high school baseball world because he's been doing it for so long. He's been so successful.
Right.
So as soon as he came on, I think that really kind of took it to another level. And then we had to up our game a little bit. I don't know if that's happened, but either way, I think honestly and thank you for doing it, but I think that was kind of a turning point for us. And then you get, like Mitch and Jen, and it's great. So.
And when we get Kevin.
And Kevin's also great to have.
Right.
Because he gives a perspective. I mean, the dude knows every kid across the state at 15 and older. He's dropping towns in this state of Missouri that I've never even heard of. And I travel the state for work.
Right?
Seriously.
Right?
So, but I think the whole thing's been great. So.
Oh, Kevin's on. Sweet.
We're talking about you, Kev.
He laughs.
But Kevin also was the same situation for us too. It was, now you have the guy from PBR that's on the show.
Right.
And it gives more credibility to what we were doing. It wasn't just you and me, hey, let's do whatever, and no one's watching, which no one was at the beginning.
But
But I think it's been a good, like if you look at the beginning to now, I think it's been great. But there's a lot of valleys and a lot of things that help go to the next level, which that's anything.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'm very proud to say this. And that's why I said it's a lot to do with the people here, from Kevin to Matt to Mitch to Coach to Jen. We hit 500 subscribers just a week or so ago, and that's a huge milestone. I mean, just looking at that, and that means that people are paying attention to what we're saying and what we have to say. And I think it goes to what you said. There has to be some credibility. And we did the interview with Misha, and I'm hoping we can get them back on in January, because I think everybody's kind of baseballed out. And the end of the year is always tough, so we want to get them back on. It's true. But Kevin was on with us, and we got to talk to the guys from Misha. I mean, that to me, I haven't seen elsewhere, and bringing officials on and talking at that level. And I think that goes to the point. Bringing that transparency out, talking about these things. What do parents understand? What do they know about the game and what's going on behind it?
There's a lot of different personalities in here and different experiences, from a small organization to a bigger organization to coaching experience to a guy that is out of there, in the recruiting process. And we all have that same experience. But I think just the knowledge that's here, the experiences that are here, and the love for this game in general. Baseball moms too. I think that was a cool addition to this show, because nobody talks about that, right? And so I just think that adding those pieces of puzzles, our shows, in the early stages was completely about opinions and, ruffling feathers. And that was fun, because I enjoyed doing those things, because I don't think we have a touch on reality here in our sport. Having Kevin come on, have Coach Perkins come on, have Matt come on, there's a lot of things going on. He has all levels of play over there, in his side, and Coach Mulder and Coach Perkins. They're sending people to big time places. So it's just exciting to watch. When I first watched it, actually Kevin Weisenborn, my business partner, says, hey, you got to check out this show. I started watching. I was like, man, I wanted to do that. That's I don't know how I found you. Maybe it was the internet or something, obviously. But I'm glad that I did. And I'm excited because I learn. I'm learning from Coach Perkins. I'm learning from Matt. Learning from Mulder, and I make my wife watch Jen, because I want to make sure my game snacks are on point, so I don't starve on 3 games in one day. So it works.
Oh man, Kevin, I want to say real quick, I know we didn't have you on the intro, but man, I wanted to say thank you for being part of the show, being a contributor, taking the time out. Because that's one of the things that I believe has really helped YBMcast continue to grow our subscribers, and I wanted to say that to you, and I appreciate that. Honestly, man, I really do.
Well, it's been a blast. It's tough to beat getting on with some of the guys like Coach Perkins and Matt and everyone else. The Misha guys were incredible, and it's always fun to get on and talk baseball and chop it up a little.
Absolutely. The focal point, and like I said, going back, when we first started, I'm reaching out to people. I remember, Coach, I got the twins to play with us one fall, and I was trying to talk him into sticking around on my team. It didn't happen. That was a bummer, but we killed everybody that fall, man. And that's when I first met Coach Perkins, and he's always been gracious ever since. Appreciate it, man.
You're welcome. You guys are really flattering.
You are a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, right?
He's like, I don't get this at home. I'm going to come here all the time.
And your boys are probably watching going, come on, man.
I got to get my wife to watch this.
Oh, mercy. So, as we grow, as we're moving into the new year, and I want to get everybody's take on this, what do you guys see for baseball? Where are we going? What do you, and especially, as we're talking about Missouri, how are we growing? How are we helping our kids? Because the first thing that we talk about with Youth Baseball Midwest is perspective, making sure we maintain a perspective, community, and then we have some fun, because baseball should be fun, right? What do you guys see? I don't care who
I've
goes
seen
first.
a lot of different clubs. I mean, I might step on some toes here, but probably will. But I mean, there's so many clubs out there these days. When it was back in the day, there was very few clubs. The better teams had the better players, and we could really compete nationwide. Now, in each club team, there is a good team. Mm-hmm. But it just depends on the year, and I'm sure, Jen, your kids have played with their friends, and each year's probably landscape has changed. Mm-hmm. The good players want to play with the good players. Every year, sometimes those guys all hang out. Sometimes they're pirates, sometimes they're gamers, sometimes there's, Premier now, but there's so many of them right now. And I think it's a good thing that kids get a chance to play. You want to find and get those kids. I always tell my kids, play at the highest level that you can and make sure you're on the field. If coach's kid is a shortstop and you're a shortstop, you better go to another team, because you ain't playing shortstop. That's not going to happen. So you got to get to know those coaches.
Thank you, Domingo Ayala.
No kidding, that guy's awesome. But it's a double-edged sword, and people are making money in baseball, and that's great, man. That's go for it. But that's just my take on that.
Yeah, as a smaller club for us, it's about teaching the game, giving kind of back to the youth. But our understanding when you come play for us is this is what we're about. You have to recognize your talent. We are not going to market ourselves as a AAA major just to try to draw one or two kids in. Those kids need to stay together, play together. We're a AA program, and we have a nice 14U team in Coach Nicodime's group. That team is kind of our face of our organization. I don't want to step on his toes. I don't want to go to a tryout and say, whatever. But he's had those kids for 5-6 years. They've played together. I think when you have that group doing that, you see success. We had the Sticks on. We've had the Naturals coach on it, and those guys have had their
Mike
teams
Rogers, right?
together for a while. That's what I like to see, because I feel like once we get to the high school level, we need that team chemistry and trying to build that culture, because that's what we're trying to do at Timberland. And, we're trying to steal from your experience and success, and we're trying to build those kids at that 13, 14, 15 years old. I believe all those kids do need opportunities, because you never know when that kernel's going to pop, if you will, for a kid to mature at 14, 15, maybe it's 16, 17. I was a young graduate. I graduated 17 years old. I didn't really mature till 19. That was my sophomore year of college. That's when I became much better at baseball. I understood my body. So for me, I love the small atmosphere that I have, because I get to know all my kids. But I do see the importance of giving, several kids chances, and maybe 3 or 4 9U teams, and building into your high school age levels when you're starting to cherry pick those groups. And, I'm assuming that's what you do. I know that the Gators do that over there. They have several small teams, and then they slowly dwindle down once you get to the academy level. So I love where we're going. I think there's a lot of talent in St. Charles County right now, especially watching the GACs kind of grow. And I'm seeing 13-year-old kids wanting to work hard, and that's exciting to see. That's why I feel like it's going to grow the game again. Absolutely. For us, making it fun. That's a deep sigh.
There's a lot of avenues with this. I think we're talking about growing the game,
Right.
and which there's a ton of clubs, and it's not only here; it's everywhere. It doesn't matter if you're in St. Louis; you could be in other cities. Everyone has the same problem. But with that, the positive side of that is, like I said, it gives kids opportunities. It gives more kids opportunities. I think the biggest problem that you have with this is if a kid comes to me or comes to you, says, "Hey, I want to play for you, but I want to be on your AAA major team. Well, I don't have a roster spot on my AAA major team. I have a roster spot on my AA team. Well, I can go to Club C over here, and they offer me a spot on their AAA major team. Like, well, you're not a AAA major player yet.
Right.
You haven't grown yet. You haven't developed yet. That's not where you need to be. That's the problem, in all honesty. I don't think it's the clubs. I think it's people lying to parents and kids just to get them on board. And I could sit there and lie to a parent and a kid all day, but I can't do it. I'm sorry, I just can't. I mean, we have national teams, and there's kids that belong on it that don't want to play, and there's kids that don't belong on it that get pissed they don't get asked to play.
Right.
And you're never going to win that situation. But if you bring it down to the lower levels, it's still all the same stuff. And it's when you have a parent like Jen who has multiple kids, she probably looks at the younger kids of her own kids different than she does her older one because she's already gone through it.
Right.
Once you get a parent that's gone through it, it's like a relief of a conversation. When you talk to a parent that's their first kid, it's so hard.
Yeah.
And I think as the game grows, with the help of, like Kevin and PBR, especially in the state, I think people need to be more honest with the kids and the parents, but where their kid is now. Not where they're going to be when they're 17, 18 years old, but where are they right now at 12, 13, 11, 14, whatever age that is.
Jen, you want to follow up on that? I think that's great.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. He's totally right. Like, I know once you've been through it once, you kind of see, and you're like, gosh. And sometimes those parents just don't get it. They don't get the level their kids are at. Like, and I think they're looking at a different kid. I don't know. Sometimes it's just the parents. At the end of the day, that's it. The kids are great kids, or the kids have potentials, but you can't really work with the parents.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's true.
that's some of the problem.
Look at Kevin smiling. What do you got on that, Kevin?
I'm not going to touch that, but it's a great perspective.
What do you see as you're moving into the new year, bud?
A couple things just to think about, just, the things that I've noticed, or not just me, just people in general. It's, a lot of times you look at the finished product, what these guys look like when they get to Coach Perkins on the varsity level. But there's a lot of work that goes into that player well before he ever gets to the varsity level and even to the high school level. And I think we've gotten collectively as as a baseball group really good at developing players. And certain guys develop at different paces. There's guys that are incredible players in 7th, 8th grade, and then there's guys that are just lucky to be on the team at that age, but they keep developing, working hard, and then they're a star by the time they're a junior in high school. And if you think about it, it's not that long ago where if Coach Perkins had a 90-mile-per-hour arm on his team, everyone in the Midwest would know who that guy was. And he would be signed or getting ready to commit to a major powerhouse Division I. Now we've done such a great job across the board with these organizations and high school coaches developing talent. You see 90-mile-per-hour arms somewhat commonly, and they'll sign at junior colleges, Division II programs, all sorts of Division I programs. And I think that's just a testament to how far we've come developing our players. And that's not just the pitching side of that. Certainly you see that with the hitters and what we're doing with guys in the weight room, strength and conditioning, and how much more developed our players is. It has changed over the last, decade or so. But I feel like it's happened relatively quickly.
I think that's a great point because you always kind of saw that. I mean, I'm one of the older guys sitting here, and we had a weight coach, football. It wasn't even but you didn't get on the field if you weren't in the gym, in the weight room. You didn't get on the field. I don't think baseball has always been like that. I don't think there was that pressure, and I think that's something that has changed over maybe the past, 15, 20 years, yes?
Yeah, that's one thing we talked about in the past. You got to know your kids. I mean, and have communication open. Like if Jen was going to email me and ask a question, I'd be back to her in 15 minutes. And I try to communicate with parents, but you got to know where your kids are at. Are they at your place, or is he at his place, or wherever place he is? Is he working out? How's his arm? How many pitches is he throwing? And is he doing too much? I mean, that's the biggest question to me. Is he doing too much? Too much specialization. I'm not a fan of that. I like him playing other sports, so it's a fine line. Every family has a choice about what they want to do with their kid. Bottom line is, the kid want to do it. Has he got the heart for it? Does he love doing it? Let him go.
Well, I think that's a big thing too, is making sure that people understand that we're not saying that they need to go to baseball only. That's not,
Right.
I'm a huge advocate for multi-sport athletes. Now, from a parent's perspective, if you've got your kid playing 2 club sports, you may have to downsize one of them because you just don't have time to do it all.
Money.
Yeah, I mean, really.
Yeah,
Like, do I want to be at? Does my kid want to go to soccer to baseball, and then we have to get homework in during this time? I mean, that's just one of them. What about your other kid? So I think that kind of works itself out internally at somebody's home, but. I don't want people to think that we're trying to say you have to do baseball. Like that's not the case at all.
There's a fine line that goes in that too. And you have multiple sports, and we're trying to go year round, and you start to see a lot more burnout at 16, 17 years old nowadays, where you have really talented young men and women just stopping. And the why is, it's like, just a year ago, you're telling me you have these dreams and you're dedicated to it. You show the effort. You've grown as an athlete, IQ wise, which I think is huge. But the physical side of it too. You have to be able to take that beating in this sport. And then all of a sudden one day there's like, I'm done. And growing up, we played 35 games a summer. If we played Legion, it wasn't a lot of baseball. Then as soon as it was done, you went to football or whatever you did in the fall. You did not participate in baseball unless you were playing catch with your neighbor, wiffle ball or whatever. I never had arm problems, always threw something. Football, people, baseballs, whatever.
People.
Well, I wrestled. I was a wrestler. So
Okay. I'm glad you clarified that.
I was a troublemaker when I was a kid, but I had a lot of fun. I'm a Rittner kid, right? So University of Rittner. I don't know. Rittner was a good school, but I had, just seeing this pitching group I had, they were here 4 days a week, and they are so excited to have these next 2 weeks off, and I don't want them doing anything. And it's like, where's that fine line at between just pushing these kids to be so active to where in 3 or 4 years, you don't want them to walk away from everything that they've worked so very hard for. And I agree with Coach Perkins, because seeing the kids that are going through Timberland's program, it's just nonstop baseball activity. They don't do anything else. They don't wrestle. They don't play football. They don't run in the neighborhood. It's just baseball, video games, or whatever they're doing. And I'm like, man, at some point, let's figure out how these other sports can help you be a better baseball player, because I'm a huge believer that other sports help you be better at baseball. I don't know that baseball helps you in other sports, but the lateral movement in basketball clearly can help an infielder, or a catcher that's an offensive lineman. Those things translate, and I'm pushing, but I don't want the kid burnt out.
We talked about this, Jen, you and I, remember we were talking about scheduling, and from a mom's perspective, and when you're working and then you've got multiple sport athletes, it gets tough, doesn't it?
It does. And so it's funny because we've always been big on multi-sports. Like, our kids have always played multi-sports. We play year round. My middle son plays 2 club sports. And the financial aspect of it, the time aspect of it, would go from baseball to soccer. We've done all that, and we've done it because he's loved it. His heart has been all of it, but he just told us this season, he's 14U. Baseball, he's having the time of his life. He's always loved baseball, but he just recently is just like, he has some kind of passion, and he told us that he wants to focus on baseball. So he's doing arm care and conditioning and doing a lot of stuff this off season. And he's decided that he doesn't want to play basketball He doesn't want to do indoor soccer this year, but it was all his decision. And he said, I'm just tired of going from one place to the other. He's like, honestly, I want to put all my time and effort in baseball. So as a parent, I am going to say, okay. I mean, we've played multiple. I've loved watching him. But I don't want to say, if you're tired and this is where you want to put your focus now at this point, I'm okay as a parent with that too. So, yeah.
I think that's a good perspective. I do, because it wasn't you pushing, you need to do this. The child comes and goes, I'm done. I'm done running all over the country every whip stitch. And I think that goes to your point. Kevin, do you see a lot of this as you're going through when you're going to the scouting combines that you guys put together? What do you see in the activities with the kids? Do you see a lot of multi-sport athletes like that?
You see some, in the fall, like I notice it. We got to be like when we're running our events, you'll have good players not be there because of football, which is great. You want to play football, that is great. So I know they're out there. Basketball season, obviously, for some of our winter events. So I'll get emails saying, hey, I can't make this event. I'm going to come to this other one because I have a conflict with basketball or football or whatever. So, but I'm on board with that. And we talked to the guys at Misha, about protecting the two-sport athlete and our multi-sport athlete. And overall, we think that's, a positive, but you still don't want to stunt the growth of players that are choosing to play baseball. So it is a kind of a tightrope act for those guys to walk.
Are you seeing more kids when they're coming at that level? Are you seeing more kids as even with Jen's son there making that decision? Are you seeing more kids when they get to that sophomore, junior level making those decisions? Like I want to focus because this is where I want to go.
Yes.
Well, I would say this: I see more kids making that decision even earlier than that, which I don't. It's not my place to say, I guess, whether that's right or wrong. I think it's case by case, but you do see more kids specializing in one sport at a younger age. We've had to talk about with the guys at Misha. There is a little bit of a pyramid effect, and I personally like to delay the pyramid effect as much as possible, but there comes a point when it gets pretty hard to play 3 varsity sports. And if you are that elite athlete, and let's say you're the best athlete in the school type person, well, maybe you can do it. But that person isn't going to play 3 sports in college. They're going to have to choose, and often it's one. Every now and again, every blue moon, you'll hear about a kid playing football and baseball in college or something along those lines, but it's extremely rare. So you do kind of get put in a position where you have to make a decision ultimately. But, hopefully that isn't 5th grade.
There you go. I like the fact what I'm most impressed with is everybody that's here. Nobody's really afraid to say something about a subject. If people, and we want people to watch because we want to bring topics that discuss these things openly, honestly, objectively. I think that's the only way you can come to a conclusion, get better at something, because as Matt said, and we started the conversation, I'm not going to lie to a parent, but we see these things. We've all been privy to some of these things because we want to do this. We want our club this. Can we make all these things work and work better? Not for the club. We know, and I've heard this conversation. I'm going to say this because, I've heard people say, the clubs are just in it for the money. You know what? Nobody works for free. And they shouldn't. You need to respect that instructor well enough to understand that's what he's doing. He's helping your child, your player prepare for the next level. The coach, the club. Are there all the clubs doing it right and this and that? I don't know. I'm not at every club. And it's just a matter of how do we have these conversations? And hopefully if we have enough of them, we talk about these things openly, everybody will come and there'll be more of a consensus of thought in how we proceed from here. Agreed?
Yeah, I think most clubs in general are, most of the people reflect who the person in charge is. Now, there's going to be certain, like for me personally, I can't say that all of my coaches haven't lied to a kid.
Right.
I have no idea. I mean, it may have happened, it may not. I don't know.
Right.
But I think when you get so somebody in my perspective, or if you get like the Matt Whiteside, like him and I get along great. And I get along with most all coaches in general because I think when you get somebody that's realistic about what's going on and what they do, you can have a conversation.
Right.
Instead of somebody who's unrealistic and is trying to make a name for themselves by doing things that I don't necessarily agree with, then it's really hard. But going back to what we were talking about earlier with the kids, I have a kid that I have a 6U baseball team. Now remember, this is 6, and I coach a 17U team in the summer. I lost a kid to my 6U baseball team because I wasn't serious enough. I am not joking. I'm dead serious. My kid plays all year round is what I was told. And I said, all year round? Your kid's still 5. It's not even 6 yet. I said, well, are you going to play all year round? I said, no, I don't want to do that to myself, for one. 2, I don't want to do that to my kid. Yeah, I'm not joking. I mean, dead serious. And as Kevin's saying some of these things, I'm thinking, man, I got a 5-year-old that didn't want to play. And I had to talk to a lot of the parents and say, just because it's me coaching doesn't mean that, we're doing strength and agility 3 days a week and we're doing this, we're doing that. I'm like, dude, we're going to practice one day and we're going to play and we're not starting until later. Like, let's slow the roll.
Still machine pitch, right?
I mean, my kid, correct. My kid might be playing the cello in 2 years. I have no idea. So, and if he is, God bless him.
Oh man!
But it's just it frightens me.
Yeah, I miss those days when it's just the machine pitch and you're out there and the kids are running everywhere and it's fun. It was just fun, man.
You miss it when you're not in it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like having a baby. Oh, that looks fun. Yeah, you miss it when you're not there.
I love that. You're probably right. It's like, oh yeah. Okay.
It's like enjoy these ages when your kid's 2, 3, and 4. You're like, what? I haven't slept in 4 years.
I enjoy my grandson way more than I enjoy my kids. Holy smokes. Because I can just call her up and be like, hey, you got to come get your kid. I'm done with him.
Exactly.
Grandpa's done.
Yeah, I'm out, man. Yeah, I ain't sleeping. He's whining. I can get out of here. I agree with Matt, though. Being realistic, I think, is a huge it just, in everything that I've done, I've tried to be that guy where I started to sell myself to the devil to try to keep teams in, and realize that takes a heck of a lot more work to try to please everybody like that. And so now it's just, okay, I'm just going to be as realistic about your athlete as I can, and you can take it or leave it. And that's your choice. You move, the decisions that you make. I will put the best training program that I can together for your group. But this is where your athletes are. And there's a ton of experience with the few coaches that I have. They've played college baseball. Some of them have had the opportunity to play a little bit of professionally. I've coached college ball, played with professional athletes, and I get information. And then the information that's given to us, what PBR might put out there, or the perfect games of the world, or Misha, or NCAA in general, and you're seeing that 1% of the athletes are doing this, but at 10 years old, you have 8 D1 athletes on your team, and it's just unrealistic, and those kinds of pressures are put on you as a coaching staff, and it's like, how do you just please that kid, and knowing that in 5 or 6 years from now, he might not even be any good because he doesn't work? I want to stop real quick. I'm going to put Kevin, have you ever seen a 10-year-old D1 athlete?
Well, no. That'd be the question now.
Well, his kid.
My kid isn't 10, so.
7U D1 athlete.
I'm sorry. I know I put you on the spot. I thought it was funny, though. I was just, because I think that is unrealistic. I've heard that for years. You got this 9U team, they're walking in there, and they're all going to go to, the University of Florida.
They all mature at different times,
They're 9
different
years old.
rates. You never know when the best kid at 10 is not going to be the best kid at 12, and the 12, and it just keeps going on up. The big kid that's 14, is the biggest kid out there and best player out there. He ain't going to be the best player at 16. They're going to catch up to him. I mean, everybody matures at a different level. Mark Burley gets cut from freshman, sophomore year, small dude. And then he starts growing. Before long, he's 6'2", and he's going to have a Hall of Fame career at the Chicago White Sox. I mean, just some people grow when they're in college, and that's what people got to realize, and just stay the course, man. Just
Right.
let them play and let them have fun. That's what mom's job is too, Get in there, Jen.
Yes,
You've seen that
It
though
is.
with your own kids, right, Jen?
we have. Here's the thing. So our youngest their team has primarily been together since 6U. Now, I'm sure they ate dirt and whatever it is they did at 6U. They were fun to play, scrappy little dudes, but they were young. However, they have stayed together as a team, and there is something to be said for kids that grow together, trust each other, build relationships, and continue to play. Now, they've continued to get better. They can compete pretty well with kids at their age, but they're 12U. We have no idea what they're going to look like at 14U, 16. We have no idea, but they have a lot of fun on the field. Our baseball team plays a indoor soccer session. They're playing right now. They're all baseball kids. They just get out there and play for conditioning and just for team bonding, something other than baseball. Now they win every time. And I like that because I'm fairly competitive. And it really pisses
There it
off
is.
some parents when they're a club soccer team and they realize we're a baseball team just out there. And I gotta say, I thoroughly enjoy it. But we have no idea what they're gonna be. They're 12U. Who knows what
But let's
they're
be
gonna
honest,
be? But
Jen.
for now,
Let's be
we're
honest.
having fun.
It's 6 and 7U. You weren't vetting the kids. You were vetting the parents.
Yes, because at the
100%.
end of the day, I don't care what anyone says, parents have to be able to get along too. But you spend a lot of time together.
Until high school.
And
Until high school, it's different.
Right.
But
For
before
right
high school,
now, we
especially
spend
at
a lot
6,
of time.
7 years old, if the kid's really good and the parent's terrible, the kid's not playing on my team. And
Correct.
If your group's
yes.
still together, they were the exact same way.
Yes, and some of those parents are still together, like our team, and some had to go because it is. You spend a lot of time, and I think it's important for me as a mom, as a baseball mom, I don't want to hear people next to me only talking about their kid. Like, we root for the entire team. We root for everyone's kids. I probably love some of those other kids as much as my own. But it's not fun to sit next to a parent that only talks about their kid, and all they see on the field is the things their kid does. Really, team chemistry has to be about everyone. Everyone at different times should be having a great game, having a good slump, down on a hitting slump, up. It's not just about one player. And if it is only about one player, that's not the right team for them. It should be about team chemistry, parent chemistry, coach chemistry. It should be about the entire, all of those things, feel of that team. And if it is, you are going to see a lot of growth with that team in particular. But yeah, for sure, you got to have fun, and the parents have to get along. It's my thoughts
That's
from
a
a
culture
baseball
that I
mom.
think
So
every coach wants to have and wants to build is that right there, especially on the travel side of things. You got to have that that support from those parents. And I told my parents, right, obviously, I have a lot of opinions, and I told my 14U group, I said, you're not gonna cheer for just your kid. Cheer for the team or don't cheer at all. And they look at me and they ask me, well, I want to cheer for my son. I'm like, I want you to too, but I want you to make sure little Jimmy, when he get, the kid that's on the end of the roster, that doesn't get as much playing time, when he has just a little bit of success because maybe he's not mentally tough enough, that's the kid that needs the entire fan base to just cheer for him just for that one moment, to get him excited about wanting to keep playing baseball. So I say those things to my parents. I'm like, hey, we cheer for everybody. We don't cheer at all. And I just don't want those little egos, because next thing you know it's going to be these 2 or 3 parents are going to talk about wanting to go over there or wanting to go to Gas House or wanting to go somewhere else. And it just creates this stupid vicious circle that's the one thing I don't like about club sports.
Yeah,
is tough parents.
we've all experienced it. And it's been around for a long time. I did. I had a parent come to me after an 8U season, and I told all the parents, we're not going to cut anybody. We'll see who develops. And I had a parent tell me that that wasn't good enough, and I'm going to leave and take 4 of these players with me. I guess then you're going to have to do that, because and one of the things that we talk about when we talk about perspective community, if our word isn't good enough, if we don't hold to what we say as adults, how then do we expect our children to honor their word or what they say or do those types of things? And I think that's about growth in the community. I know Coach is proud of his boys coming back into the community after they've had success playing baseball. We all know that they've had success. They're all coming back into the community because their baseball careers are done, and it does with everybody. And they're coming back into the community, contributing in the community. And that, to me, should be the focal point of what we're doing to begin with. If you have those kids that reach up to that 0.04% level, and they're fortunate enough to be that, fantastic. But we know that the greater percentage of these kids are coming back into our communities. How do we want that to reflect on us as adults, as parents? And I think that should be a thought process with every club, with everybody. How are we getting these kids back into the community? In what way?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're seeing that now with, I coached softball for a long time before, when I joined the hitting zone for Casey and Ziggy Moore, I joined as the softball director because I have been my oldest daughter plays softball. And what I've experienced with that, and I think it's the neatest thing, is as they get older, you're seeing how they are now having kids, and they might be 5, 6 years old, and they're starting t-ball, and they're starting that coaching side of things again, or they become teachers and they're coaching in their high schools. For me, it's like, I get super excited to get invited to their weddings, get baby showers and things like that. And it's just what I thought what I was doing was not the end result. It's so much greater outside of this sport. It's just passing time for us right now, and the relationships developed has just been awesome. And I'm a huge fan of seeing these people give back to the community. We had Timberland, he just graduated, went to CMU, Central Methodist. Brendan Theismann and Jack Lawton, who played at Timberland kids. They're when they're done, they're coming back to coach and give experience and give lessons. And I just think that's super neat, because you need that young person. I'm 41. I'm still on that verge of old school, old fashioned type negative reinforcement kind of coaching. And then, these kids come in there with a completely different tactic on how to relate with these kids, because I can't stand the music, right? So
That's not even singing.
Yeah, I did not learn how to dance from TikTok, and so these are things that I just don't understand how to relate with these young people. I could teach the game. I'm very super passionate about teteaching it.
Maybe you ought to just do your your training videos on TikTok from here on.
Well, I think I have a radio voice versus a camera voice or face, however that goes. But I love everybody giving back, because I don't remember it. I don't remember too many kids that are our age that are giving back to sports, but these 30 somethings, these 25, 30 somethings, I don't know, you could, I know there's guys out there, but there's only a handful of us. There's a lot of young people, 23, 28 years old, that are back in and really good coaches. Those are kids that we may have coached in high school or something as we first started coaching. So it's really neat to see.
Yeah, I see a lot of faces. One that works closely with Matt, Charlie Kelting, played for one of my 9U teams. He played for you.
Tony.
Yeah. Great kid. He's doing some great work with you. And so that's what I mean. It is about that. So, all right, guys, we're going to have to wrap. Kevin, last words?
Oh, Merry Christmas, everyone. Hope everyone out there has a Happy New Year's and can't wait to watch some baseball in 2022.
Let's go.
Spring can't get here soon enough after Christmas and New Year's, that is.
Jennifer.
I'm ready for baseball, same as Kevin. I'm like ready to go. I'm ready to pack my cooler, ready to get my baseball bag together and sit all day, every day on the weekends and watch my boys.
There you go. Matt?
Like Kevin said, Merry Christmas to everybody, and thanks to everybody. As you and I were discussing earlier, the fact that we have this many people here after the conversation we had here a year ago is kind of shocking to me, and people actually watch the show. It's kind of shocking to me too, considering what we talked about in the beginning. But they watch it because we have good content, and that's kudos to everybody that's here, and Jen and Kevin. So thanks to everybody, and thanks to you.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to everybody. I'm excited. We're about to start our winter programs, and so as much as folks want to get started to watch baseball, we still got that 3-4 month grind that we have to go through, and so I'm excited to be training our young kids, and then high school stuff starts pretty soon. I'm really excited about the GACs. I talk about it every time. I'm trying to beat you. I'm trying to do my best to beat Coach Perkins. He has set the standard in the GACs. I think I don't have to worry about golf no more, do we?
I don't know.
They're still good. I know, they're still good. No, I'm just kidding. I'm super excited to work with Justin and Brian, and then this is my first time being on panel with everybody, so hopefully we get to do this a couple times a year. It was really fun and exciting, and I can't wait to continue to build content.
Coach?
Happy holidays to everybody. Thank you, everybody here, for doing what you're doing. I mean, it's helping the game, helping baseball. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Guys, that's it for our year-end extravaganza. Again, thanks for everybody being part of and more importantly, all you that are watching, please, if it's the first time you're watching, hit the subscribe button, hit the dinger, because that's what we do around here. It's double D's. That's what we were getting
Double
into.
D's.
Double D's.
Yeah, double D's. Everybody loves double D's, doubles and dingers.
Doubles and dingers. And, I'm the old school guy. I got to change it up, I guess, now, because nobody really knows hit them where they ain't, except for me and Coach.
We do. We know the choke. We still know the choke and poke.
Oh, there you go. Choke and poke, right? There you go. We got to get Jen, you got to get us some T-shirts, choke and poke, right?
I will get you guys some T-shirts.
Sweet. There you go. Gotta love that. Everybody, have a great new year. Be safe. Happy New Year. We'll look forward to seeing you in 2022. Until then, all you pitchers, keep throwing strikes, and you hitters,
Hit them where they ain't.
that's good advice. We'll see you next time.